Hello, my name is Abigail and welcome back to Polyglot Progress. Today is November 3rd, 2020, and this is going to be my November recap video. Last month was not a great one for me in terms of language learning, in terms of my personal life. The language learning definitely because of how I was feeling in my personal life. Obviously, being busy, having a low mental health period, being stressed, being overwhelmed, all of those things obviously are going to impact everything you do. But I find that those kinds of things have a big impact when it comes to my language learning, and that was pretty much all of last month. And that's part of why I haven't even started filming this video yet. We're 3 days into the month and I have not even begun to record my progress, and honestly I haven't really done anything language-wise as of yet. Last night I was on the French side of TikTok for a little bit, which had some pretty good content, I must say. But that's literally the only kind of thing in another language I've done so far this month. We're only 2 days in, I guess 3 tonight, but I am planning to do something tonight, so it's not a huge loss quite yet. But definitely you can see that's kind of the headspace I've been in. Honestly, why I haven't gotten to language stuff today is, yes, I had work for like 6.5 hours, but honestly, most of it is that I spent yesterday and a bit of today just kind of trying to get myself back on track, mentally, productivity-wise, etc. But I'm feeling pretty good about this upcoming month. I'm feeling pretty good about the past 2 days and how I've kind of been getting myself back on track with things and my hopes and plans for this month. So I'm hoping to stick with that and to get a good start this first week of the month and just carry that out throughout the rest of the month. I'm going to try this month, my big goal for language learning is to kind of just flesh out a better routine for myself language learning wise. I think since I started coming back to language projects again in kind of like April, May, June was kind of as I was settling into that. I think there I was kind of getting used to just doing it all again, and then I spent the course of the summer kind of adding languages back on one at a time, and now I'm at the point where all of my current projects are here and I'm decent about studying. I don't necessarily do it every day, and I don't necessarily keep a good system of keeping up with each language. Sometimes I'll go like 2 weeks without doing anything in German because I'm so caught up with my Bulgarian and my Spanish or something like that. In that sense, I definitely need quite a bit of improvement, but I think the general foundation is there. I am hoping to this month be better about kind of doing a variety of things, a variety of languages, doing the things that I need to be doing in languages. I just purchased a French lesson. It's not like booked, but it's purchased. I need to schedule the time with a tutor. I was going to schedule a Spanish lesson. I actually requested the lesson and then I had to cancel the lesson request because I realized that I scheduled it during a like Zoom game night that I already said that I was going to be a part of with some friends. So I don't know when language lessons are happening this week. I was going to be really on top of it and book one for Thursday and one for Saturday, but I'm waiting to hear back about the French lesson for Saturday, and then on Thursday I can't actually do it. So we're a little less great with the language lessons right now. So that's kind of what this month holds, is hopefully getting a little bit more on top of all of the things that I want to do. I want to prioritize reading a lot. I think I have figured out the perfect kind of approach to reading for myself at the moment. So I'd like to make a lot of progress in the books that I'm reading. I did already make my log. I have been very bad with keeping up with these. You can see I didn't do a ton of activities. This is an activity, but it's kind of faint. And then look at this. I just kind of stopped. I wrote in a few things that I remembered doing, but most of this is just blank because I forgot to update it on the day and then would kind of forget what I'd done. So this month, I am going to try to get myself to update it every single time I do something, because I would like to have that log as a way to hold myself accountable, but also to be able to see like, oh, I really haven't done anything in German in a week, so it's time to do something in German, since I am trying to balance out that mix a little bit more. So I decided to take a little bit of time off from the Polyglot Progress upload schedule. And it was actually pretty hard to do this just because I feel like usually when I take a break from Polyglot Progress, it's because I am sort of time-wise very busy. Like, it is physically very difficult for me to get videos done because I don't have the time to film them, to edit them, etc. Or I'm feeling very burnt out because I've been making videos, and it's more so I need to take a step back because making videos is burning me out because I've got so much on my plate. And this time around it wasn't that at all. I actually really wanted to continue making videos, so it was a little hard to get myself to do this, but it was just kind of one of those things where I wanted to make it so that I can post videos if I feel like it, but I don't have the pressure of posting every single week, so I don't have to worry about getting things done by the next Wednesday for the next 3 weeks, I guess. And the reason I'm doing this is just to kind of give myself a little bit less pressure in my life right now as I'm kind of starting to feel a little bit better, and with that have a little bit more time to put towards language lessons because that's been something I've been struggling to keep up with recently. With that, I've made a few other kind of moves recently to try to improve my mental health and my language learning alongside my mental health. I feel like that's going to be what a lot of this video is actually, is just kind of me getting myself back on track with my language learning. One thing that I did say in the video that I recorded for last month that didn't get posted was that I feel like for a lot of my kind of goals update videos over the summer and my monthly recap videos, I've felt like they're kind of a low point for me, and I've said that they're a bit more of a low point, but I think I wasn't giving myself enough credit for the fact that I took a year off from language learning, and before that it was really sporadic throughout all of my university time, so 4 years of time before that. I guess 3 because it was kind of my last year that was this full kind of gap with a few little kind of dips into language learning, but nothing really consistent or anything like that. And so coming back, there's almost a relearning kind of that needs to happen. Obviously I don't fully need to learn how to learn a language. I do remember what works for me. I've gone through all that kind of trial and error. I didn't even have to fully relearn the languages. I did remember things. I went back and reviewed, but mainly that was just kind of give myself a nice solid foundation coming back into language learning. It wasn't necessarily for all of them because I didn't remember a single thing. For Bulgarian, it is, but not really for any of the others. And so I've had to relearn that. Plus, I've had to actually learn from scratch a lot in that my life changed a ton. I think that was kind of always going to happen with graduating. I was going to have to kind of relearn how to fit things into my life and how to work well not in school and not having that, but also with the pandemic, with moving back home, with all of these things that I was not obviously expecting to have happen this year. There's been a lot of kind of learning from scratch along with this relearning, and so I think a lot of my low points were kind of low points in figuring out what was and what wasn't working for me, and not necessarily an actual low point in my language journey. But I think last month was truly a low point in that I was struggling with things like imposter syndrome, with feeling anxiety and almost kind of fear with posting my languages online, with feeling burnt out, with feeling stressed, with all of these kind of things that I think are more of a low point for language learning for me than I think just, oh man, didn't get all my goals done because I can't quite figure out how to fit it into my work schedule. And I think this month a lot of this is going to be working on more so how to get language learning to interact well with my mental health. I think I'd figured that out for a long time, and I think I have to refigure it out just based on how I am currently, both in my life and also with everything that's happening right now. So there are 3 things that I want to touch on that I have kind of done or am doing that I think are helping me, and so maybe if you're going through similar things, these will also help you. First one being that I made a therapy appointment. I've been trying to get a therapist for a while now, but with all of this kind of happening, it felt even more crucial, and luckily yesterday morning the therapist I've been kind of in communication with told me that I was good to make an appointment. And though that's not inherently language related, I think it's important to just point out how related those are for all of us all the time. I know that when my mental health isn't so great, that's when I start to get stressed, when I start to get imposter syndrome feelings, when I start to get all of those things related to language learning, because I'm kind of feeling that way about myself all around. And then also if I'm feeling down about my language learning, that might impact my mental health as well. I usually find that it's the other way around, but it is important to point out that if you're struggling with that kind of thing, obviously figuring out better language routines is great and all of that, but sometimes it takes a professional to help you with the other side of it as well. Number 2, I am booking language lessons. Because so much of last month's bad feelings language-wise were centered around imposter syndrome and my fears and hesitations and I guess generally yucky feelings with speaking languages online on the internet, because there is this kind of dissonance between my language levels when it comes to my reading ability and my comprehension ability and my writing and that sort of thing versus my speaking. I want to push through that, so I am booking language lessons. I'm gonna maybe try to do a crazy thing and take like 4 lessons this week. I've already set up a French lesson on Friday morning. I am going to probably do a Spanish lesson Saturday night, and so I think I might do a Bulgarian lesson Thursday morning before work, and then I'm trying to figure out if I want to do another lesson. I don't know if I want to have a lesson and therapy on the same day, and that's happening Wednesday, and tomorrow's Tuesday, so it kind of feels like maybe I should just wait till Thursday to do things. But potentially I will be scheduling a German or Italian lesson as well, or possibly a second French lesson. I'm taking the French lesson I have on Friday with Natakalum? I don't know how to pronounce that totally correctly, but I did just find a French tutor on Italki that I am interested in, so I might just book a second French lesson. And then the third thing that I've done is to just kind of help with the feelings of overwhelm that I had last month and the beginning of this month, is I have started moving myself to Pomodoros and kind of short sprints of work as opposed to focusing on what I want to get done. I typically like to go off of a to-do list type format for just my life, for getting stuff done and for language learning and stuff. That's more so how I tend to do it, and that's what feels the least overwhelming for me normally. Usually time kind of freaks me out a little bit. I don't like to go off of time, but I don't know, something about it right now, it's having the opposite effect. So I've been trying to have kind of like a to-do list in the sense of like, here's some things I'd like to get done, but then how I'm making it super manageable is every day I try to get 1 30-minute Pomodoro of writing done, 1 30-minute Pomodoro of Polyglot progress stuff, and 1 30-minute Pomodoro of language stuff. And then if I can do more, great, but at the very least I've done an hour and a half of work and it covers the 3 things that I really care about getting done each day and what I really care about having work completed in by the end of the week. Obviously that's not the only way I'm doing things. If I take a language lesson that's an hour long, it's gonna go past that Pomodoro time. But like I said, this is really just, if I can't do anything else, at least I've gotten an hour and a half of work done. It's helped a lot. Highly recommend trying it if you're in the same place right now. French lesson is done. It is 11:32 and I really liked the tutor. I have been having a good week with clicking for people. I feel like we're clicking with people. English. So I think currently I've solidified my Spanish tutor, I've solidified my French tutor. I need to find an Italian tutor, a German tutor, and potentially a Bulgarian tutor that really click with me. Like I said, I really like my Bulgarian tutor. It just really is the price. I tried to book a package the other day and then I got to the part where the price was and I was like, oh, maybe I can't do this right now. But I would love to do that. I didn't even take an hour-long session last time because I couldn't really pay that price. So maybe not the perfect fit for me. I think that does have to be factored into whether a tutor is the perfect fit for me, as much as I wish I didn't have to, because if I can only see the tutor like once a month because that's all I can afford, probably not the perfect tutor for me if I want to be able to go like once a week or twice a month or any other amount. But I really like her, so I don't know. I'm still on the fence as to whether she's in the perfect fit or not. I think she's in her own interim kind of in-between space right now. Getting back to this conversation though, I feel, I'd say, good about it. Other than her being lovely and a great fit for me, I think it's always reassuring for me when I have been in this position of I haven't done anything in French in months and months, and then I am put in a situation like this one where it's like, okay, good morning, speak French for 30 minutes. It was totally fine. I could say everything I wanted other than forgetting how to say a transfer for a flight.
it's transfer, so same thing as in English. I forgot the word transfer in English as well. Like, I was like, I don't know what to call it in English. It does feel like I haven't really done anything today. Not in like an unproductive way, but in the sense of like, I don't feel like I've done a big task. I feel like I still have the energy levels. Feels like I just chatted with someone for 30 minutes, so it is looking good for me getting some other language stuff done today. I think probably I should do something in Italian, because I was looking at my kind of tracker, and it's doing what it's supposed to in terms of showing me what I haven't done in a while and what kind of tasks I haven't done in a while. And I haven't done anything in Italian in the month of November quite yet. The one thing is that I would really like to get some more Bulgarian in. I think I need to be more diligent with my Bulgarian kind of intensive study, just because I feel like I have been cycling through languages, and I feel like one thing that happens to me when I start to study Bulgarian again is I have such difficulty with it, and I think even if I'm not feeling frustrated, I think I am a little bit frustrated with it, and the way that I deal with that is I just instead go back to languages that I have a more solid base in, and my focus just automatically kind of shifts to like, I need to improve my Spanish and my Italian and my German. Like, they're at an intermediate level, let's get them to an advanced level. Like, isn't that what we want to do? Whereas like, I should really be working on trying to get myself that solid base in Bulgarian. Bulgarian just is a difficult language for me, and I struggle with it a lot. And I think as much as me putting Bulgarian down so many times over the past few years has been because I've been busy, I think some of it has also been that when I have the opportunity to either improve my German, for example, or work on my Bulgarian basics, I instinctively start to choose my German because it's comfortable. Like, it's not something that's easy per se, but I feel comfortable in German enough to be able to improve it. Whereas with Bulgarian, I just feel like I'm like drowning all of the time. And that's with a tutor or without a tutor. It's just all the time. So having said that, I've actually decided over the course of that I'm gonna do some Bulgarian studies today, because I think I need to push through that, and I think I need to make sure that I dedicate time every day, if I can, this month to studying Bulgarian. Alright, so second French lesson of the week is done. It was an hour long. I really enjoyed it. We also just kind of talked for an hour. Yesterday, my language learning actually went quite well. I did a coffee break German on my way to and from work, so I got about a half hour of German stuff in on top of my French lesson in the morning. I also did about 30 minutes, I'm going to say, of Bulgarian study. I went through some more words from Intensive Bulgarian, and then I wrote for a little bit, which is not a lot of writing. This is not very much, but it's a sizable chunk for my Bulgarian. I'm not very good at producing Bulgarian at the moment. My plans for today are to try to actually cover my other two languages, because since I did French, German, Bulgarian yesterday, if I do French, which I already did, Spanish, Italian today, that will mean I'll have done all 6 in the span of 2 days. So I haven't really done anything else today other than my French lesson, but I have had a couple kind of breakthroughs in the past few days that I feel like I would like to talk about in this diary, because so much of the monthly vlogs are kind of the realizations I'm having as I have them, and a lot of this was brought on by the fact this month that I did decide to kind of step back from Polyglot progress for a little bit. I keep forgetting that happened because I am filming these videos every single day, and I'm doing so much language stuff that it kind of feels like I'm not stepped back from Polyglot progress, but I think that ended up being the perfect kind of level of stepping back for me, because I do love doing this so much and I haven't wanted to necessarily take a break, but I think that was one aspect of my life I could take a break from. And I think if you have an aspect of your life, regardless of what it ends up being, that you can take a step back from for a few weeks when you're in kind of a worse mental health position, it helps a lot. And that's been a nice little realization. I feel like I have that realization every now and again, but I think it's been nice this time around where I didn't feel burnt out. I didn't feel necessarily like I needed to step back, but I caught myself just having a rough mental health time and lessened one burden on myself, even if it didn't feel like a burden. But lessening something
ended up kind of revealing that I needed something to give. Other realizations, I have become a little bit obsessed with taking lessons now, which is so funny to me because for so long I was so afraid to take any kind of language lesson online, and for so long I have taken those lessons then, but always been so nervous beforehand, and I feel fine after they happen, but I've never gotten that kind of like rush of really loving it that I think a lot of people do. I know a lot of people feel like they just absolutely love taking lessons and they want to take them all the time and they want to practice speaking all the time, and I'm like, no. But I'm at that point right now. I would love to take more lessons. I was so glad that I booked 2 French lessons back to back. I think that may have helped me have this little like rush of enjoying it, because I think having lessons where I could conduct myself the same way I do in English, with grammar mistakes, because that's the problem with my French, but we were having the same conversations that I do in English, so it was just really interesting to get to learn about people from not the United States' point of view on like the US elections and that sort of thing. Talked a lot about politics in the last 2 days. Being able to do that just always is a nice feeling for myself, not necessarily in like the nice feeling of like, oh, look how good my French is, but more so that I just start to get this feeling of like, man, I hope those other languages that I'm learning can eventually get to that point too, where I'm able to talk about anything that I could in English, and I can have these conversations without feeling like I have no idea what I'm doing or what I'm saying. But the other reason that I think that I have started to kind of get this newfound love for taking language lessons online, because this has not just been this week. It was not just spurred on by the French thing. It's been a building thing. I think I've realized that my priorities with my language learning have shifted. Not necessarily in terms of what language my priority is, but in terms of what kind of skills I want to have as my priority. For a long time, making videos on Polyglot Progress, I felt like my priorities for my language learning were reading and writing. And I think it's totally natural for those priorities to shift over time. I don't think that my current priorities are like, I've finally come around and these are my priorities. I think it's going to continue to evolve as I get older and as I continue with language learning and as I learn different languages and am at different spots in my life. I guess my goal overall right now for all of my languages is I want to be able to consume native content, specifically reading books and watching movies, and then I want to be able to talk about those things. I want to be able to talk about the things that made those things, like politics and culture and history and all of those things, and the actual what made those things, like talking about style and authors and writers and cinematography and all of that sort of thing. But I think that's kind of always been a goal, but more so in writing, because I think part of what has shifted that is Polyglot Progress, and I think this has been a shift that's been happening over years and years and years. But because I do something that is so visual and oral, like talking on the internet is so much of how I use my languages. It just makes more sense. And for a long time, I was writing things. I was journaling. I was interested in having pen pals and that sort of thing. And so writing was a really big focus of mine. And I think now it's shifted more towards, I would rather be talking to someone than I would write to someone. And again, it's not because I like came around or anything, or even any kind of shifts, I think, in my confidence. It's just been that that's more so what I am interested in doing at this point in time. I've gotten very back into reading the past couple of days, which is great. I've been talking for so long about how I want to do that. It's been a win for me in all of my languages, without a doubt. It's been a win for me just on a personal level that I'm starting to get back into reading. So that is a huge motivator for me in languages now too, is to be able to read books and then talk about them to people. I love talking about books after I read them, so I really want to be able to do that and then talk about them with people, with this YouTube channel. And then obviously I want to be able to watch films. I would love to be able to watch cinema from around the world and understand it on a level that subtitles can't give me. And I want to be able to talk about those afterwards as well. We talked a lot about films today in my French lesson as well, and I just would like to be able to do that. I'd love to be able to work on film sets. So that ties back into speaking, but also in terms of like watching things and really understanding them and allowing literature and film from around the world to influence my own work too. I'm more interested currently in writing to further my speaking abilities as opposed to just writing and having that be the end goal, which it was for a long time.
I don't think I had as much of a desire to be able to speak in the ways that I want to right now. So that's kind of been, I think, the major breakthrough for me, is just kind of noticing a shift in what is currently important to me in my language learning, and that'll definitely be something that I factor into how I kind of plan out my language goals for next year and how I just think about what I should be doing in languages right now.
Got some vegan ice cream, got some Bulgarian folk music, and we've got intensive Bulgarian. This is not the chapter I'm on, but I opened up to this randomly, and I just want to point out that I feel real attacked by this translation example of either she knows Bulgarian or she doesn't. If she knows it now, will she forget it tomorrow? Great question, intensive Bulgarian. If I know it now, will I forget it tomorrow? I talked about this earlier in this monthly review where I just feel like I kind of get freaked out by Bulgarian and it makes me not want to study it so much and I kind of run away from it. But I think the more that I have committed time to doing it every night recently has really just kind of shown me how much that is the case. The past few days, have just been trying to sit down for like 30 minutes. Yesterday it turned into an hour and just do some Bulgarian study and write something. I think I just kind of have to force myself to sit with it and to be uncomfortable a little bit and to do what I can even if I feel like I'm not making any progress. I think that's a lot of the problem, is I think I get that kind of short-term reward with Spanish, Italian, with German of I can sit down and, I don't know, learn the Italian subjunctive, and by the time I leave, maybe it won't have totally stuck in everything I write, everything I say, but for the most part I can leave that study session knowing that I have started the work to learn the Italian subjunctive. I have understood the grammar rules. I probably can write some sentences or say some sentences using the Italian subjunctive. It makes sense to me in that sense, and it sticks in that sense even if it needs a little more practice. But when I leave a Bulgarian study session, I don't feel like, aha, I've unlocked this whole other world of things I can say. If I study the subjunctive in Italian, I'm like, great, now I can talk about things I think, things I feel, things I'm considering, like hypotheses, like all of these different things, and I can think of hundreds and thousands of things that I can talk about using that thing. But with Bulgarian, I'm like, I guess now I can say I'm going to the post office tomorrow, but I can't think of hundreds of things that I can use with that. Even knowing the future, knowing the aorist past, I don't feel like I can say hundreds of things because I feel like I don't have the words to do that, or the other grammar to do that. But you know what? The only way that I am going to get to a point where I can do those things is to sit down and to be uncomfortable right now. And I really just need to dedicate, I think 30 minutes a day is what I'm aiming for right now, to just doing this. And then the rest of my day, I really want to work on getting to a point where I am using all my other languages so that way I can work on improving them. As much as I might say like I feel uncomfortable learning Bulgarian and I feel not as good as I do sitting down and working on German stuff, that's not to say that I like am forcing myself to study Bulgarian. Like, I love the Bulgarian language. I genuinely think it is one of the most beautiful languages. It probably ranks in my top like 5 languages in terms of the way it sounds and stuff. I absolutely love the Bulgarian language, and I absolutely want to be able to get to a point where I can do the things in Bulgarian that I can do in German. Truly the only way that I'm gonna get there is through this part now, where everything feels brand new and everything feels like I'm never going to learn it. It's the end of the month, so it's time to kind of wrap up everything. I know at the beginning of this month I felt like I was coming in from a really bad month, both personally, mentally, and with my language learning,
And I'd say that definitely this month was much better. Not only was I just generally having a bit better of a month mental health-wise, but I found that even on the bad days, I figured out how to get language learning in. Pretty much the whole month I did language things, and for most of that, it was a good solid chunk. I was doing at least 30 minutes of Bulgarian a day. It's become something that I've started to enjoy, that little bit of time spent studying, even if I don't feel like I leave having gained all that much. It's nice in the moment, and looking back, I feel like I've gained quite a bit from that so far already. And the real win was today I watched 15 minutes worth of Peppa Pig in Bulgarian, and I could understand, I'd say, about 70% of the first one that I watched, a little bit less of the other two, maybe more like 50%, which obviously is a very low amount considering these are children's episodes that are 5 minutes long and are based on very simple things, and I'm not even understanding most of it, but it's a huge win for me in my Bulgarian, and I feel like it motivated me a lot today because I have been feeling so frustrated and like I'm not making progress, and to just be able to do something and understand what was happening, and I laughed at a joke because I could understand it, made me very excited. It was a very big win. And then I'd say the other big win is I'm pretty much done editing my French video. I just need to subtitle it and go over it one more time and upload it and stuff. But I was so afraid of making that video for so long, and I feel like it captures my speaking ability for the most part pretty well, so I'm really just feeling good about the fact that I finally came around to that, and that will have been something I've finally done, and that I've got the confidence to do that now. For next month, I want to figure out my 2021 language plans. I've started working on it, but I want to kind of solidify that before December ends, so that way obviously I'm ready to go. I'd like to get reading that Percy Jackson book, so that way I can finish up the challenge on Christmas. And I would like to continue my streak of kind of studying every day, doing things every day, and I would like to get some italki lessons done. I need to have 2 Spanish lessons because my package is going to expire in December, so I know that's happening already. Thank you so much for watching. I would love to know how your November went, and I will see you next Wednesday.